Hello, everyone. Tonight, let's trade the quiet fields and the stern walls of castles for something utterly different. Something vibrant, noisy, and absolutely buzzing with life. The medieval city. Forget the hushed solitude of the monastery or the rigid hierarchy of the manor. Here, human ambition, fierce independence, and sheer grit built a world that was both exhilarating and, frankly, often overwhelming. Imagine stepping back into a labyrinth of narrow streets, teeming with people, potent smells, and a dizzying symphony of sounds, all operating without a single traffic light or a truly quiet corner. A scent of opportunity, escaping the land. For centuries, most people in the Middle Ages lived lives utterly rooted to the land, their existence dictated by the relentless seasons and the Lord's often absolute will. But as the centuries progressed, particularly from the 11th century onwards, something new and powerful began to stir across Europe, the explosive growth of towns and cities. These weren't just larger villages. They were dynamic hubs of commerce, specialized craft, and most alluring, a glimmer of personal freedom. If you were a peasant struggling under the harsh feudal system, a town offered a powerful, almost mythical promise: escape. The popular saying, potent as any charm, went, Stadtluft matched frei, town air makes free. If a serf could manage to live within a town's walls for a year and a day without being reclaimed by their lord, they legally gained their freedom. This incredible allure drew people in, creating a dynamic, ever-growing population, eager for a new life. Imagine approaching a medieval city. You wouldn't see sprawling suburbs stretching for miles. Instead, it would be sharply, dramatically defined by its formidable walls, often massive, imposing stone structures, punctuated by towering gatehouses. These walls weren't just for show. They were vital, expensive defenses, built to protect the precious goods, the skilled workers, and the burgeoning wealth contained within. As you passed through the main gate, perhaps after a moment of wary scrutiny and questioning from the town guard, the world would suddenly explode around you in a dazzling, chaotic burst of activity. A symphony of chaos, the sights and sounds of urban life. Stepping onto the cobblestone streets of a medieval city was an immediate, overwhelming assault on all the senses. The air would be a truly chaotic blend of smells, the comforting aroma of wood smoke from countless hearths and workshops, a pungent, inescapable odor of tanneries, the sweet, enticing scent of baking bread, the metallic tang from a blacksmith's forge, and yes, the undeniable, pervasive stink of unwashed bodies, animal waste, and raw sewage. There were no municipal waste systems as we know them. Garbage and human waste were often simply tossed into the narrow, open gutters that ran down the middle of the street, relying on heavy rain to wash it away, or scavenging pigs and dogs to consume it. The noise would be deafening, a constant roar of urban life. You'd hear the incessant clang of hammers on anvils, the loud shouts of merchants hawking their wares in booming voices, the bleating of sheep being driven to market, the heavy rumble of wooden carts grinding over cobblestones, the excited chatter of 1,000 conversations, the piercing cries of street vendors, and the distant, yet ever-present, peal of church bells marking the hours. These streets were incredibly crowded, packed tightly with people from every imaginable walk of life. Burly porters straining under heavy loads richly dressed, merchants displaying their finery, humble apprentices running frantic errands cloaked, monks on their way to the abbey visiting knights, and a host of impoverished beggars. Personal space was a luxury utterly unknown. You'd be constantly jostled, pushed, and forced to be alert to avoid collisions. Without sidewalks, you'd share the thoroughfare with wandering livestock, horse-drawn carts, and the occasional noble on horseback, their retinue clearing a path. Getting anywhere quickly was a constant, frustrating challenge. The pulse of commerce, markets and trade at the very heart of every medieval city was its vibrant market. This was the city's economic engine, a sprawling, energetic space where goods from the surrounding countryside met exotic wares from distant lands. Imagine rows upon rows of temporary stalls and permanent shops, overflowing with fresh produce, live animals, bolts of cloth, gleaming pottery, rare spices, and all manner of tools and finished goods. This is where goods were exchanged, crucial news was shared, and prices were passionately, loudly haggled over, sometimes for hours. Medieval merchants were truly the adventurers and entrepreneurs of their time, traveling vast distances over dangerous roads and treacherous seas to bring exotic good spices from the East, fine silks, precious jewels, specialized metals, and rich furs back to the burgeoning cities. They financed daring ventures, organized heavily guarded caravans, and navigated complex, perilous trade routes without any of our modern logistical tools, communications, or insurance. Their success depended entirely on their courage, their cunning, their ability to negotiate, and their skill in building trust and intricate networks in a world where formal written contracts were rare and difficult to enforce over long distances. A market wasn't just a place of economic transaction. It was a vibrant theater of global connection, however slow and arduous that connection might be. The power of craft, the guilds, but the true genius, the intricate engine of medieval city life lay in its highly specialized crafts, meticulously organized by incredibly powerful institutions known as guilds. If you wanted to be a shoemaker, a baker, a goldsmith, a tailor, a carpenter, or any other skilled artisan, you absolutely had to join a guild. Guilds were much more than just simple trade associations. They were powerful economic, social, and even religious bodies that shaped every single aspect of a craftsman's life, from training to retirement. Becoming a master craftsman was a long, incredibly disciplined, and competitive journey. It began as an apprentice, often a young boy sent to live and work with a master from a tender age. For typically 7 years, the apprentice would learn the trade hands-on, absorbing every secret, every technique, every nuance of the craft by endless watching, listening, and tireless repetition. They received no wages, only food, lodging, and the invaluable education. Imagine the countless hours spent grinding pigments for an illuminator's vibrant manuscripts, stitching intricate seams for a tailor, or polishing armor for a metalsmith until your arms ached. After successfully completing apprenticeship, you became a journeyman, literally a day worker, now free to travel from town to town, working for different masters to further hone your skills and gain broader experience. This was a period of newfound independence and crucial learning, but also of uncertainty and wandering. Finally, to become a master yourself, a true artisan, you had to produce a masterpiece, a complex, flawless example of your craft, and often pay a substantial fee to the guild. Only then could you open your own workshop, train your own apprentices, and truly join the elite, respected ranks of the city's skilled artisans. Guilds strictly controlled quality, ensuring that all goods produced by their members met universally high standards. They set prices to prevent unfair competition, regulated working hours, and often provided vital social welfare for their members, caring for widows and orphans, offering loans in times of need, and even arranging dignified funerals. They had their own grand halls, their own patron saints and religious feast days, and their own strict rules of conduct. This sophisticated system, devoid of modern regulations and certifications, ensured both quality, fostered deep community, and fiercely protected the livelihoods of its members against outside competition. Governing the urban sprawl, charters and burgesses. As cities grew in wealth and population, they often sought more autonomy from the surrounding feudal lords who originally controlled the land. This crucial independence was gained through town charters, formal legal documents, granted by kings or powerful lords that gave the townsfolk certain specific rights, like the precious right to govern themselves, to collect their own taxes, and to run their own independent courts. This was a pivotal step towards self-governance individual freedom, and the emergence of a new social class, the burghers or bourgeoisie, the free citizens of the town. The governing body of a city was typically made up of its leading citizens, usually wealthy merchants and respected master craftsmen, known as burgesses or aldermen. They would elect a mayor, oversee justice, maintain the formidable town walls, regulate markets, and manage public works. Without complex administrative departments or modern infrastructure, these individuals, often using their own practical wisdom and local knowledge, kept the incredibly complex machinery of the city functioning. Imagine the endless debates in the town hall, the constant struggle to manage rudimentary sanitation, to prevent devastating fires in densely packed wooden buildings, and to maintain order among a diverse, often unruly, and rapidly growing population. Challenges of urban life: fire, disease, and crime. Despite the immense opportunities and burgeoning freedoms, medieval city life was undeniably challenging, often harsh, and fraught with peril. Fire was a constant, terrifying threat. Buildings, often constructed primarily of wood and packed tightly together along narrow alleys, could ignite in minutes from a stray spark or an overturned candle, with entire sections of a city burning down in a matter of hours. Without modern fire brigades, fighting a blaze involved desperate bucket brigades and frantic human chains, often a losing battle. Sanitation was, as we've mentioned, truly abysmal, leading to pervasive disease. Cities were densely populated breeding grounds for epidemics, with the Black Death in the mid-14th century devastating urban populations in particular, sometimes wiping out over half the inhabitants. Life expectancy in cities was often significantly lower than in the countryside due to these rampant, unmanaged conditions. Crime, too, was a persistent concern, though perhaps less prevalent than dramatic legends might suggest. Watchmen patrolled the winding streets at night, armed with lanterns and halberds, and justice, often swift and brutally public, was administered by local courts. Punishments were harsh, designed to serve as clear deterrents in a crowded environment. The enduring legacy of the medieval city yet, despite these undeniable hardships, medieval cities were vibrant, dynamic, and utterly transformative places. They were true melting pots of ideas, centers of innovation, and crucibles of profound social change. They fostered literacy, as merchants needed to read and write for their trade. They nurtured new forms of social organization, like the powerful guilds that offered both support and a distinct identity to their members. They represented a fundamental shift from a purely agrarian society to one with burgeoning commerce, specialized craft, and a new independent class of citizens, laying the crucial groundwork for the modern economy and the eventual rise of nation-states. The medieval city was an astonishing testament to human resilience, profound cooperation, and the enduring desire for opportunity, community, and freedom. It was a world built entirely by hand, managed largely by common sense and practical experience, and teeming with a powerful, noisy life that forever changed the face of Europe and laid the foundations for the urban centers we inhabit today. So, as you drift off to sleep, perhaps you can hear the faint, echoing clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the vibrant murmur of a bustling market, or the joyous laughter spilling from a Guildhall window. Imagine a world where every object told a story, and every city was a universe unto itself, a testament to human spirit and ingenuity. Good night.